Good evening. Today is Tuesday, January 5th, 2016, and the Milford Planning Board is now in session.
I'll make a motion for the minutes.
Motion made by Pat for the minutes, second by Joe. All in favor? Unanimous of 4. 81Ps, we have none. Number 3, ZBA special permit referral, 12 Ferguson Street, Anne Marie Yaz. Dear Madam Chairman, the applicant is requesting a special permit to allow for a supplemental apartment within the existing single-family dwelling on the subject property. Section 2.3 of the zoning bylaw provides the supplemental apartments via special permit for the Zoning Board of Appeals. The proposed supplement apartment will be contained entirely within the existing dwelling and will consist of a studio-type unit. No addition will be necessary to the house. All other applicant zoning requirements appear to be met. I recommend a favorable report forward to the Zoning Board of Appeals. This is respectfully Larry Duncan, our town planner.
Yeah, I think that looks like the area above the garage has either been unfinished, or at least it certainly wasn't used as a
Trying to figure out what it was.
habitable space. So that's the area that the accessory apartment is being proposed for. So,
So there's really no addition other than the outside deck, Larry, it appears.
right.
Yeah, right.
Right, because they would have a secondary means of egress.
Yeah, but other than that deck, it appears that everything else is unchanged.
Is it an in-law apartment or rentable?
It says it's for her daughter.
Supplemental, yeah, it
didn't see
has to
that.
be. It can't be,
She can answer that question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, why don't you come up?
I was just gonna,
you wanna say something?
I was gonna pick a recommendation.
can't be.
Oh, good.
I read that.
Okay.
John,
I can answer any questions that you
I make a
Okay.
motion for favorable to the ZBA.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Pat to send a favorable to the ZBA, seconded by John. All in favor? Unanimous of 4.
Good luck at the ZBA.
Good luck at the ZBA, that's right.
Yeah, we just gave you the curse of death.
Yeah,
I know, we should have probably said no.
should have said no.
You would have
make
had
sure
it.
they say yes. This next one's really problematic.
Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
You still need to go to the ZBA. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Yep.
Oh, you
You're
too.
welcome. ZBA special permit, 44 Green Street LLC, map 52, lot 5, CB zone. Dear Madam Chairman, the applicant is requesting a special permit to allow for portable warehouse on the subject property. Section 3.2.5.1 of the zoning bylaw provides for portable warehouses via special permit for zoning Board of Appeals. The proposed portable warehouse will be located behind, on the south side, the existing commercial building, and will comply with all the side yard setbacks. This proposal will relocate the existing non-compliant storage unit to a compliant location on the property. All other applicable zoning requirements appear to be met. Therefore, Larry Duncan, our town planner, sends a favorable report to the zoning.
What's one of, it's just one of those storage boxes
Yeah,
that you need the yearly permit for, is that what this is?
Well, you need a permit for the storage. It's the container.
The 40 by
You've seen
20s.
them around, Hill had them, the gas stations
Right.
have them.
That
He
is a
uses
yearly.
it for supplies and some accessory equipment. He bought the building 10 years ago or so, and it was there when he bought it, and Laurie spotted it and came to him, and he came to me, and I said, well, you might as well bring it also into compliance. It was on the railroad right away.
Oh, okay. Oh,
You
Minor
might wanna-
detail.
You might want to bring it over to the
Minor
building
detail
a
until the
little
train
closer.
right. Do I hear a motion?
Do you have to get a permit every year for this?
No.
No, it's not every year.
The ZBA's done some funny things.
Yeah.
Sometimes they've only allowed it for a year, so
They
that's,
can't. It's a special permit, so they could limit it.
I
but-
thought it was limited to a year.
No, they could limit it, but it's
Okay.
it's not by,
I think the last couple that were
I don't have a
approved,
problem with that.
from the feedback that we've received, for some odd reason, a few of them have been limited for a year. That's why I had in my mind
it's
a
one of those
one-year
old
permit.
buildings without a lot of storage inside, so.
Okay.
I move we give a favorable recommendation to the zoning.
Moved by John to give a favorable recommendation to the zoning. Do I have a second? Second by Joe. All in favor? Unanimous of 4. Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thanks,
John,
John.
nice to see you.
Nice to see you,
Happy New
John.
Year.
Give my best to your family. Happy New Year.
It's
And
still a billable hour, isn't it? Even though it's 2 minutes?
No, available 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
We had travel time,
And
John.
I don't break them into those increments.
Did you give that
It
to?
was just nice to see you.
See,
Thanks, John. Okay, continued discussion on the zoning section of the sign section.
This is the
Just
right one,
to
correct? The
bring
updated
you
one.
guys up to date, I did go over every one of these the other day. I stopped to see Larry, and I read every single one of them. And what I would like to do at the next meeting is probably go over each one. We could, each one of us could take a page and go over each one and talk, and if we need to talk about it, or say that's fine, and move on to the next one, because there's just so much in here that we just can't not do it one at a time, page at a
you
time.
need to
That-
confirm a
that's fine.
consensus of the
Yeah,
board on each
right.
section.
Madam Chairman, my only areas of concern, and I think, and I've had conversations with Larry, was relative to commercial industrial, when there's space for lease, or they're building a building and it's for sale, or, you know.
Right.
And and I'm not gonna answer it for him, but there is language that allows for a temporary.
It does.
Permit. I just wanna.
Oh,
because
okay, I see what you're saying.
You know, I only have 2 other problems. One is obviously the balloons. I just,
Right.
I can't get over that.
I know
My only
that.
other second problem that I have, that I think we could probably conquer, as I said to Larry, the average person in town, the only sign that they'll generally ever have in their property is pretty much a for sale sign, for the most part. So I just want to make sure that that a for sale sign from a general realtor
Right.
is compliant. Now, I know that, like Larry said, well, the sign designation is such that they'd have to get a different, but you know what? I just,
Well,
I hate to take away someone's opportunity to sell
Okay,
their home
I understand.
because
If you're gonna allow
that's my
for-
only, and again, I know I cannot be brand specific. All I'm saying
Right.
is
No, I'm
the
just saying-
size.
I'm just saying that if those are the type and style of sign that you're concerned about and you want to allow for them, then that's what you allow as the maximum size,
Correct, and
height, or
that's
whatever.
all I'm looking for
But
is a
that-
change.
But that would be a dramatic difference from your typical small sign that's used for stump grinding and seal coating and political signs.
I'm
And
hoping
now
that those temporary, I'm gonna call them metal signs, because
Yeah,
they're stuck with
yeah.
metal posts, don't increase in size. I understand that in theory they could,
If you-
Right,
if we
right.
do that, I understand that, but again, I just wanna be sensitive to those individuals, like I said, that are normally compliant, other than the fact that they'd want for someday to
Right.
put a for sale sign, and I just don't wanna be able to diminish their rights and opportunities to sell their home, that's all.
Well, I understand that, and I think that once we go through all this, each one of the new regulations, that we can either input that, or do what,
Conversation.
No, and again,
Yeah.
I only mention that because, as you know, I've
I
been kind of a
understand
pain in the
that.
neck about
I
this for
understand
some
that.
time, so I just wanted to at
Yes, you
least,
So I think
at least make the acknowledgement that Larry and I
Right.
have come to terms on a
That's
great
good.
many things other than the balloon, and I just.
Right.
But like I said, I don't want to be brand specific, but
Right.
I'm using that clearly as an example so that everyone understands.
Right.
The real estate side.
but like Larry said, this would be a
Experience as a child with
consensus, of all of us.
didn't get
Joe,
any.
how
You didn't
about
get any
you?
balloons, no wonder.
Yeah.
No, I think it's probably pretty much where I thought it would be. I guess the only thing that I have a comment on in terms of making it complete is that, my feeling is that we should get rid of the word temporary. I mean, temporary signing no longer exists. It's not temporary. It's allowed, it's permanent. It's just, it's effectively signs in residential districts. I mean, you're
Oh, I
you're
see
calling
what
it
you're saying.
temporary, but there's no time frame for it to be temporary. They can be up permanently as long
Yes.
as they meet these requirements,
Well,
so.
but there's a dramatic difference, at least the way this is drafted, in terms of what the thing itself actually is. You got basically a cheap flimsy sign
corrugated
that
plastic, I
isn't
think they are.
meant to last very long. So, but given the predicament we're in, I really couldn't see any other way to get at it. I know originally, I think we had said, we had used temporary and/or portable signs. Well, portable signs are somewhat different, and they start diverging from what we were trying to get at with temporary signs, which typically are the stump
Yeah,
grinding.
but we don't really, yeah, that's what it is, but we don't really specify it as being, I mean, I don't see where we're specifying it as being that type of sign. I mean, it becomes signs in RA, RB, RC, RD, or OR, but they're, in probably in OR, they're not those types of signs.
But
They're gonna be real signs.
Well, but the definition for temporary sign says any sign used for a limited period and not for permanent display.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe we should clarify in the definition
Well, I think,
as to
yeah,
the
because I just think it.
structural type or
Yeah,
something. Yeah.
but, I mean,
You know,
I guess it sort of just gives the wrong impression to me, I guess, because there's no way of controlling it in terms of temporary, and at the end of the day, I don't think anybody, again, in terms of policing, is gonna go out and see what they're made out of.
Okay.
Well, I don't know how else you're gonna get at regulating any of that at all. Because if you don't have that in there, then they aren't gonna be able to display what the people normally display, because they don't fall into any of the other categories that are normally covered and are covered in this draft, or that have been covered in the draft
Well,
since we started.
there are distinct signs within those zones, though.
Well, in terms of,
So why would it be any different than saying signs in the RA, RB, RC can only be this size and only be this big, as opposed to calling them temporary signs in
well,
those
because
zones?
calling them temporary signs means that that's in addition to your normal sign allocation. Whatever Zone ABC says you can have for signage in that district per lot, you can have. Then the temporary sign section
Could you
is
change
in
it to
addition
limited
to that.
use? Limited use sign instead of temporary?
But
His reflection is that a couple months out of the year that you're allowed more than the aggregate of one per year.
And that's in here.
No, but
Yeah.
yeah, I
I'm
guess there
wondering
is
to
still
see if
that
you-
wording, yeah.
If you
Joe's
get
having a
into
problem with the temporary. I'm just wondering if we could,
Well, but-
if you could either
Well,
inquire
if
with
you
Jerry to
just-
see
if
if
you
there's
just-
another term.
If you just don't deal with temporary signs at all and say, we already say, in the draft anyway, what any property could have for signage.
That's right.
And even at that stage,
Does.
the owner has to decide whether he's gonna waste his allocation of signage
Right.
advertising for something that has nothing to do with his property or nothing to do with the political candidate he wants to support, and waste his signage on something else.
Yeah.
That's up to him, as long as the number and size and
Right.
all of that stuff meets the requirements. So that's already there.
Yep.
The only reason we were doing this temporary sign thing is because people do put up signs temporarily. So that, I mean, however else you phrase it, you have this, this flux depending upon the season
Yeah.
or political season,
But I-
what it is, and that's why we got at it. But those are in addition to your regular signs. So
But
if we.
I guess in thinking about it, at the end of this, the number and size govern, and I don't care whether somebody does it as a temporary sign or they want to make a permanent installation and take it down and go through the added cost of doing that, I could care less.
Well, but if you just eliminated the temporary sign thing altogether,
Yeah.
and whatever your allocation in your zone is based on whatever the draft turns out to say.
Right, so say it's one, you can have two
One
during
sign.
this other seasons,
Right.
let's just throw that out.
Yeah, but those are for permanent signs. They're not for flimsy temporary signs, temporary in terms of type of construction. They're for permanent signs. So,
Everlasting.
well,
In theory, yeah.
you have
Yeah,
a
but
metal frame or.
if somebody puts up an everlasting sign in March, April, whatever we had it for, and he already had another everlasting sign, and he decides to do that, then come May, he needs to take that down. Whatever that costs him, he needs to take that down. I mean, that's what the bylaw says.
Right.
Yes.
So I don't really care whether we call them temporary or
The
not. to me.
bylaw right now, in terms of the allocation of signage for permanent signage on your property, you can identify the property itself. If you go to section 397, you can have one wall sign in a residential zone, not over 4 square feet in area. Plus, you could have, if you have a home occupation that's approved by the zoning board of appeals, then, you could have a sign associated with that. But basically, you can have one wall sign not over 4 square feet in area per zoning lot. So that's basically, you could put a sign on your house if you wanted to identify it. Versus the commercial districts, which then gets similar to what our current bylaw says, one sign for each side of a building per use, per zoning lot, blah, 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 provided that the aggregate of all signs does not exceed 20% of the wall area upon which they are displayed. And then
That
there's.
wording is, where are you on that?
Yeah, that's on page 5, up at the top, 3975. So you can, that covers the wall sign basically for businesses, commercial uses.
Commercial, yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So whatever these things say now, it doesn't regulate what the message is, it just regulates the sign itself, but they're permanent signs. And now you don't have to get permits for permanent signs in a residential zone because of the way we drafted this. But you do for the others. So if you, depending upon the structural type of the sign, you may or may not need to get a permit to change the message panel. Instead of Pat's Diner, it says Larry's Diner. The structure is still there, you just take out one panel and replace it with another.
Right.
But if you're only allowed that one sign, as it turns out, on your property, and, you have 2 stores in the building, then the signage
decide-
allocation, you're gonna have to
You have to cut it in
figure
half, yeah,
Okay,
But
which is fair.
yes.
if you want to use that, if you want to use that to advertise multiple things over a period of a year, the way I read it, you wouldn't, and the way John was explaining it to me, you wouldn't necessarily have to get a sign permit if you're not changing the structure of the sign, if you're just changing the message panel. Now, sometimes they're damaged or they get worn out.
Or a tenant leaves and you
change-
replace it with
and you-
somebody else.
And you
I
have a
mean,
new
it's-
tenant, yeah. But you still have only one sign. So all of those, however, are permanent signs. The idea of having the category of temporary signs is to say, okay, in addition to all this stuff you're entitled to, the way it's drafted now, you can do this other stuff.
I guess in looking at it, maybe I'm having a change of heart and looking at this a little bit deeper, and this
Yeah.
is certainly part of the discussion going forward. To me, in a residential zone, if you want to have a walled sign, you can have a walled sign, but I don't think you should have a walled sign, a yard sign, all these others. I'll give people the freedom to put a sign up. But I don't think we need multiple signs. I'll buy into the fact that we have the temporary out of that, but if we're gonna allow a wall sign, to me, that's their sign. Then they don't get the yard sign.
Right.
Well, that's
That's,
kind of where I was coming from to begin with, that all this other stuff, because you can't get into the content of it, it really trashes up the look of a neighborhood,
Yeah.
and ultimately the whole town. And not just neighborhoods, residential neighborhoods, but the
well,
commercial and
and
industrial as well.
that's sort of my feeling going forward, is I'll give somebody a sign, or I'll give them a certain area that they can have in their yard. They can choose whatever method they want. Walled sign, yard sign,
Stand
whatever. We're not gonna be able to get something to pass town meeting that doesn't allow that that level of freedom. I
Right.
don't think saying no signs is passable. But to me, we need to limit it to say, okay, you do whatever you wanna do, you get this much area, put your sign up, do whatever you want. During certain months of the year, we'll allow you two addition, or double the area, or whatever, however the heck it works, however we word. I think that, to me, is where
I think there's four
I'd
in
like to
here.
get to.
But if you're doing that, you're still in the category now, you're in the realm of the temporary sign. The additional one for a limited amount of time is a temporary sign, while the original allocation that you were just referring to
I
would
guess-
be the permanent sign.
Yeah, you're using that in wording. I guess I'm not, I'm less worried about the mechanism of what you call it, only because, to me, that, I'd leave that up to the person. The fact is, he can only have one sign during most of the year. However he wants to mount that, temporarily mounted, whatever the heck he wants to do, he can put that in a residential zone. When he puts up the other one, if he decides he wants to put it in concrete and mount it and make it permanent, at the end of the day, he can spend $10,000 to take it down, because after 2 months or after a month, he's got to do that.
Or he may want to take the cheaper one down.
Whatever,
The
whatever, that's
expensive.
his choice. So I'm just saying,
Yeah, all right. So,
the wording to me doesn't matter. I'm trying to regulate how much area we give them during certain times of the year.
so one way to do that then is, as you just said, you take the verbiage that we have in here for the temporary signs now and apply that to signage generally.
Yes.
All right.
That's me. I don't want to speak for the board. I mean,
Well, I mean, that's another way to do it. And then I was just trying to have the temporary signs as an additional sign
Yeah.
to satisfy all those folks who seem to think that signs vote.
Yeah, no, I understand what you were going. I guess my thought process in looking at it is that in actuality, that would mean that the building department should go out and look at those to make sure they are quote whatever, which they're not going to do.
Yeah,
I know that. But
they're only
so-
gonna
So why?
respond to
You're right. So at the end of the day, they're going to look and say, he's got 2 signs. It's May. You can't have that. Take
One
one
has to
down.
go.
So at the end of the day, call them signs, and those are the regulations. And let's not get caught in the semantics of what they are or aren't. They're a sign. You can't have 2 in May. If that's what we come to at the end of the day, that's something we allow. And to me, that just makes it a little bit cleaner. That's my thought process.
There is some simplicity to it.
There is. And that's why I think we need to go through each one of these.
So what's your plan?
Before the public hearing, the plan.
When's the public hearing scheduled?
Well, we
Has
haven't,
not
We have not scheduled
I
it
guess my
yet.
question is, are you looking to do like a working meeting, or you just want to caucus this at the next?
At the
I'm
next
trying to-
At the next
Well,
meeting,
in line with
See
what
what Larry-
Alina was saying, I didn't get a chance to be able to discuss all this with Jerry until early this afternoon, and I had to be away the rest of the day. So there are a few minor things that will change from what you have tonight, based on his comments. So there's not a lot of changes. So as soon as I get a chance tomorrow, I'm gonna do that, and we'll send that out. But to what Lena was speaking about, from that new draft that you'll get tomorrow or the next day, we would go through it section by section,
right.
and then try to get a consensus.
That's what
to
we need
it.
to do.
But in terms of the overall schedule,
Right.
we have to work back from an assumed May 23rd town meeting. And you definitely want to keep one meeting date open between town meeting and your actual public hearing, which would mean May 3rd would be the public hearing.
Oh, so there's still plenty of time.
So we do have.
Well, we need to go to the selectmen too.
Yeah,
Well, that's why I just wanted to,
But we
So-
have plenty of time to.
Well, there is time, but it's just going quickly.
know it.
So, but my other comment would be, you may want to look at whatever meeting day it's gonna be in April, and we have to verify on elections and things, what meeting days we'll do in April. Maybe the actual first public hearing would be one of the meeting times in April.
that's fine. I think we,
So that you have 2 full.
I like Lena's
regular
idea
meeting
of
dates.
going
Right.
through it.
We
But
need
then,
to-
like
Yeah.
Joe said, reminded us,
Yeah.
we have to go back to this, have to present it to the selectmen, so.
So, I mean,
By doing that next time, and I'll try and incorporate if everybody is relatively amenable to what Joe was just talking about, I'll try and incorporate that in the draft.
Okay, all right.
For next time. But if we can go through and get a consensus, then we're gonna be in much better shape to really narrow down what we still may need to work out. I
Yeah.
think we need to do that.
That's an
why-
important
that's-
part of this whole thing, for each one of us on the board to give a consensus of what's on page one, let's go through it, page two, page three, and make some adjustments and changes if it has to be made.
Yeah.
Other than that, the date,
Yeah, because we wouldn't want to have a public hearing later than
Two weeks
May
agenda,
3rd.
and we'll start.
so the public hearing won't be until April, but
Probably
next
the end
week,
of April, yeah.
next week is, the next meeting is the
19th.
19th, so
So put this on.
So we should put this on the 19th,
And probably the next meeting thereafter, too.
two of
Throw it
them,
on the 19th.
yeah.
Yeah, because the next meeting's Groundhog Day, we can talk
You
about
might
it.
as well assume it's gonna be on that, too, just,
So.
I don't know if we'll get through the whole,
We won't,
without,
because,
it depends. If we're all fighting about one word after another, well, we're not gonna get far.
no. So what we'll do on the 19th is we'll go over the signed draft that Larry's gonna talk to Jerry Moody about it and get back to us. That's on the 19th of January. And then we're gonna do it again, was that the 1st of March, Larry?
February.
I mean, February?
Yeah,
1st of February,
Groundhog Day.
yeah.
We may do it twice.
may
or-
have-
or
we may
three
have-
times on Groundhog Day, you never know.
Yeah. And just in case we don't finish with it, we can do it again on February
yeah.
16th.
Yeah, so there are a number of
Okay, so
meetings.
we'll have a number of,
But this is the easiest way to dissect it, is
it's
just
the
go.
easiest way. When I went over this the other day, I was looking at it and I said, there's just no way that we can all come to a consensus without all of us going over each one of them.
Well, you'd be surprised if you just keep harassing Larry. He's usually pretty good.
So that's what I would like that done, so we can do that.
Sounds like a plan.
All right?
All right.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Pat to adjourn, second by John. All in favor? Unanimous of four. Happy New Year and good night.
Well, that's why I'm.